What is up, YouTube? Jonny B here again today, and we're going to be bringing you another video. This is going to be the fourth video in the series for the Datsun 240Z, I guess, build, or us getting it, to be drivable again. And one of the main issues that we had with the car was ever since we got it, one of the rear wheels on the other side was missing all the studs except one, and that was the only thing holding it up. And then on top of that, it blew. So we actually got some, some fresh wheels, you guys can see there. And now the issue was that the rear brake drum was seized on the left side, and we just had to break it off, and that was the same exact drum that was missing the studs. So because of that, we couldn't really drive the car. So just to get it over here, I just put in two, FRS studs in there just to get it over here. But we did order some ARP studs, and we got a big brake kit for the rear from Wilwood. We still got to get the one for the front, but right now the budget's not, limiting my friend here to be able to just do the rear, so that way we can eliminate the drum brake set and not have to just, renew it, buy it all new again, because we were going to replace it anyway. So there's no point in using it. So that's why we decided to just delete it, and we're at this step where the hub is completely disassembled. So let me show you guys what we've done so far. We got the hub disassembled, and it was a really big pain in the butt to get it out because the drum has like a little brake shield here in the back that doesn't come out unless you remove the spindles. So here are the spindles with the new ARP studs pressed on. You can see the bearings. We cleaned it all up, painted it. Same thing with this. This is the part that goes here on the back side, and this actually bolts onto the axles. So we cleaned it all up. They were super rusty, so we went ahead and did a little bit of paint. And then also you can see they were already zinc plated, so they look super good. We're greasing them up here, putting in some Mobil 1 synthetic grease, so that way the bearings will be good, have fresh grease on them. We can put them back on, and then we can get to installing the Wilwood brake kit. So that's where we're at. We're gonna be putting all this back together and then start fresh with the Wilwood brake kit install. All right, so what we're gonna be installing in the rear of the 240 is called a micro big brake kit for the 240. This is so we can fit 15-inch wheels under the car still. So if you want to go with some Watanabes, this is going to be the upgrade, but you'll also still be able to fit those. So it comes with the calipers. So we got two of them, the ones in the box, two rotors. We got the mounting plates from Techno toy tuning. We got Wilwood brake pads for it. These are going to be replacing the old e-brake lines. When we install this, it'll still work with the big brake kit. And then we have some stainless steel braided brake lines. So we're going to go ahead and install both of the rear ones and make the rear brakes work again. All right, guys, so first thing we're going to do is install this bracket that's going to be holding on the new caliper, and it's going to mount straight to where the original bolts were holding on the drum brake rear plate. So this is going to go like this. There's like a little section here that says mounting face, and that's what's going to get mounted, and it comes with hardware. We got these two 17mm bolts, and they come with like a crush washer. This is going to hold it all in place, so we're going to go ahead and put this on first. All right, so we got this little mounting bracket on, and there's also a spacer that's included that kind of expands this, so that way when we sit the rotor, it's going to fit on there. So now the next step is to go ahead and put the rotor on, and it's dual drilled for 5 lug and 4 lug. So we just got to find the 4 lug section, and there it is, and let's go ahead and put it on. Next step is to get the bolts that we're going to be using to mount the caliper to the bracket, and make sure you put a little bit of Loctite on there because we don't want them coming loose. We got the Loctite on the bolts. Put the bolts on. I got the little Allen key that goes there, and now we're gonna go ahead and tighten it onto the bracket. So caliper is on there, it's bolted. If you guys are looking for the specifications, they're actually on the bracket, the torque that you want to put on it. Then you're gonna go ahead and put this little L fitting that they give you. This is what's gonna hook up to our brake line from here to there. And now before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and put the pads in. So the Wilwood pads that came with it just slip in, and then the pins just kind of hold it in place. So these are the pins. And then the Wilwood brake pads are in here. And there they are. Now we're gonna add a little bit of grease to this right here. So that way when they're moving, they're gonna slide in and they're not gonna be making any squeaks. So let's go ahead and throw those on there. So now that I got the brake pads in, and just make sure you line up the holes, and then you take the pin, you can just slide it in. If they're all lined up, there we are. That one's in. Super easy. This is very different from like your standard Brembo brake kit. But seems to work just as well. Got the brake line on, and now the last step was to put on the e-brake, because we opted for the optional e-brake. What you have to do is pull this off with some pliers, take this pin out, put it in the back side first, and you just literally bring it out and it just slides right in. Look at that. You want to make sure that your brake line isn't going to be interfering with anything, because even if your suspension goes up and down, you don't want it to be like rubbing on anything. So make sure that you set it to a position where you know it's going to be good, because if you start rubbing your brake line on something from your suspension traveling, there's a big chance that your brake line will fail and you know, no brakes. Now the next step is to go ahead and do the other side. So here we are, we got this side done as well. We got the e-brake on it. We were having a bit of a hard time putting this e-brake onto this section. So what I ended up doing is adjusting the section where we replaced it. Down here, there's this little adjuster that goes all the way to the e-brake. So all I did was loosen this bolt, and it gave us enough slack to where we can finally move it and put it on exactly. So now all you have to do is adjust that till your e-brake is almost on the on position. So right now we have no brake fluid in the actual caliper. So you can hear how the pads are clamping down on the actual rotor. That's just from the e-brake, and the e-brake's not even engaged yet. So there you go, you can see it there. So once we pull that up, we should be, you know, locking up the rears, which will be exactly what we need if we want to slide the Z around a little bit. So yeah, just to recap, it is a very simple install. The hardest part, I think, was removing the actual drum brake kit. I don't know how they're designed to be removed. So here is the Willwood Master with the brand new reconditioned brake booster. Got it all installed and it's looking good. We even got a new hose that's gonna be for the brake booster, which is the hose that goes right there in that spot to connect back to the car, because the one that was in the car was just completely destroyed. So let's go ahead and fit this in there. And then what I did to make sure that it's gonna fit is I actually measured the distance that it was originally. It was 5.5 inches from the base of the booster to the center of the holes here. So that way when we go back to install it, it'll all line up nice and easy. Let's get this onto the car. I wonder if it fits with everything. Looks like it does. Looks like the hardest part is just that rubber boot that it has on the inside. I remember when we were removing it, that was getting us jammed up. And it's on. Struggled a little bit, mainly with the fact that the Willwood Brake Master has different fittings underneath. So these are the stock lines, right? And underneath, these are 10mm threads, and they have 10mm threads up top as well, where they bolt into the master cylinder. But the issue is that since this is American, Wilwood uses 3/8 versus the 10mm, thread, and it just was not going on. As you can see, I struggled a bit, and then I ended up breaking it off in there, and just went to go get some custom lines made from my local brake line place. So they literally just remade these with the correct top fittings, so that way they just slide in. So now finally got them in, and the whole issue was that the threads were wrong. So now that we got all this hooked up, comes the real test to see if anything's leaking. And we got some .4 brake fluid. We're gonna be putting into this to get it all ready to go and drive, and hopefully the car stops versus having to use the e-brake like we were having to use before. So let's go ahead and top this off, and then we can start bleeding the brakes. So we got the brake booster in with the new Master, the new lines that we had to get, you know, the perfect fitment for that Master. We bled all of the brakes. We had you know, Juan's help bleeding all the brakes, and Angel as well. He's helping us. Now they're putting on the tires, and we can actually leave them on because we're pretty much done. Now we're gonna see if we can kind of drive it and see if the brakes work. And if they don't, then we probably shouldn't drive it, right? So we'll probably just push it around, test the brakes. They seem to be working pretty good. Well, obviously, once you have the weight of the car, if they're not gonna stop the car, then that's a big issue. So you always wanna double check. We know the e-brake works really well, so there's always that option. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. We're gonna end it here. In the next video, hopefully you guys will see some driving clips of the car, and then whatever else we need to do to it. Probably upgrade the seats, because right now the seats are just in there. They're not really bolted down, so it's gonna be hard to drive. But it'll just be like a little lap around the neighborhood, something slow, just to kind of get the car driving around, moving on under its own power. And then should be upgrading the seats pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. That's gonna be very interesting. I thought that the seats that we were gonna put in have never been done before, but apparently it has, and there's like a write-up for it too. So this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be easy. It's gonna make the car nice and comfortable in the interior with, you know, upgraded seats, and then it's gonna look cool. So until next time, you guys have a great day. We got the 240 running. Look at that. It's gonna drive around a little bit. Doesn't have any rear lights except for the brake lights. I know when he hits the brakes. Oh, I guess no brakes. No brake lights either. Oh, the turn signals work. In them rollers. Straight right there, straight.